You asked for it, you get it. Ryu and I will rip your photos into smithereens. Hold on to your headphones. Here comes the pain.
And with that, we start 2020, which is one more than 2019, and it's the new year. So happy New Year to everyone. We appreciate the continued support. And yeah, hopefully we're gonna be doing something interesting in 2020. We'll see how it goes. We have thought about it. We have talked about it. We just have to see like how we can kind of proceed with any of the ideas we have going down. This year. So in any case, we didn't really have that many entries for training ground for some reason. I don't know if it's because people didn't really shoot in December or not, but we only had 7. So hopefully, especially for people who have paid via Patreon, it's probably better that you kind of take advantage of your money and put your stuff in so we can talk about your photos and training ground and other things as
Yeah,
well.
even if they're like older pictures or something, even if you're not shooting right now because the weather's bad or something like that, you can still put older pictures in if you think there's something that you can learn from them. I'm sure that we can critique them also.
So today we've got Mark Lancaster with a photo of cyclocross in North Carolina. Hooray. This is cyclocross. I mean,
So I think this is fine as far as like the idea goes, and it's cool that he caught the sun in that little gap there. I think that I'm trying to look at this as somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of experience, and I guess the one thing I'll say is when you have a simple picture like this where it's just kind of it's mostly silhouette and you just basically have like shapes and the sun, the positioning of all the shapes matters a lot in this case. And so what I'm looking at here is the gap in between the back wheel and the left edge and how the right edge and the front tire. I just don't like how they're arranged in the frame like that. It doesn't make it a bad picture or something, but if you're trying to do this, it's good to know what can trip you up. And the thing that can trip you up in a silhouette is when the form isn't exactly right or when it's not balanced in the frame or when something's cut off. And this is kind of cut off, and it's not the worst way to cut the front tire off. I'm much more concerned about the empty space around the back tire. I think that's where I'm coming from. I think this you probably just could have fixed this with a tighter crop on the back tire. But when you're doing this the next time, it's not just getting the bike in the frame and the sun behind it. It's also where the bike is in the frame, and it's also what you're choosing to cut off and what you're not, and how close one thing is to one edge and not close to the other edge. So those are the things that you want to think about the next time you're trying to something like this.
it's kind of I just think the overall balance is very, very bad. Like I look at the picture and then I just see like, okay, well there's the sun, but if I take the sun out, it's just a really shitty silhouette picture. And I mean, I want to like, if you're gonna actually angle the rider like this, because it's obviously like not straight, because you're not actually shooting it from dead on, you're shooting it from like from a particular angle. That means that it has to be a bit more, bit more obvious that it's angled. So this is like a half-assed thing of like, you can do it straight on, you can do it from like behind, you can do it from like 45 degrees. And the only redeeming factor about this is I guess is the silhouette, because I kind of like the sun thing is good, but it's not really like adding that much to the picture. The stuff in the back, the ribbon thing, I guess that's like to keep off people from actually running into the course by accident. Yeah, that doesn't really do me either. There's a lot of things that's like wrong because of the fact that there's a forest in the background. So like half of the silhouette is basically gone because it's all black on black. And I don't know, like the stuff that's actually like coming off the wheel, like all the debris and the earth and whatnot, like That I like. And if you can actually like get more sun in it next time, like flare would actually be very good. I like the flare actually in the picture. But I hope that like you would actually get it so that there's a lot more flare than this, so it's a bit more obvious. So it's too subtle, and the subtleness doesn't really make the picture that much better. Yeah, it's a hard call. I mean, I would try to do it again, but really think about like what we just said, put that into practice, and find like a way that actually kind of accentuates the entire, image, which is like the back wheel or the front wheel or the rider. Could it be the entire rider? Could it be like, just the legs and the tire? Like all these scenarios, you have a go at it and see, what you can actually come up with. The silhouette itself is fine. Like you've actually done a good job actually getting silhouette, but that's, I don't know, for me, that's really kind of about it.
It's think about it like this. This is like an 80% picture, right? It's you've done the majority of the work, but then you kind of let it slip through your fingers a little bit at the very end. That's kind of what this is like. So in real terms, in how do you make this better kind of terms, once you find a situation like this where you like the shadow or the light or the background or what the action is going to be when it comes to you, then you're chipping away at that extra 20%. How can I eliminate the tape in the background? How can I make sure that there is, maybe let's find a place where there's not only the sun in the background, but some trees that are taller than all of the other trees, or where you can see a mountain in the background or a water tower or something like that. Look for those little details that you're not changing the basic. It's still going to be a down low picture of somebody riding a bike with the sun in the background, but you're looking for those extra 20% of details. Where is everything in the frame? What are is there more mud coming off the tire or less mud coming off the tire? How is the lens flare? All of those little details make up that extra 20%. And so you're already at 80%. That's good, but that doesn't get you a good picture. That gets you a lot of the way towards a good picture. So you need to pick out those tiny little details that make up that rest of that 20% to get the picture over the hill. I don't have any complaints with this.
Yeah, I've absolutely no complaints. I think you've actually got a good eye going forward, Mark. So I don't think we've got any complaints whatsoever. Like this is absolutely fine.
I would say that this could be cropped to get that black fence out of
Yeah,
there.
that's a bit shitty on that thing.
That's nitpicky, but it's such an easy fix, right? Like you're not losing anything. If you cropped it to where like in the upper left corner where those where the concrete starts, then you still have some of the blue from the track railing. You still have the concrete of the track, and you still have the fence that goes around it. So I think that you make the picture simpler and less distracting, and more interesting by just all you're really doing is taking a tiny bit off of, like an inch off of the top and a tiny little bit off of the right hand side. And this is a good picture. I would say, so this is a good picture, right? Neither of us has a problem with this, but it's not perfect, right? So we would be looking for better light for sure. So a different time of the day, or a day that's less cloudy than it is here, something with a better shadow or something like that. And then if you can do this here in this part of the track, I'm hoping that you can do it in a different part of the track where you can show, I don't know, maybe when they're coming up out of it a little bit higher, or if it looks like they're putting in a little bit more effort, maybe they're fighting for the finish line or something. I would say that so if the last picture was 80%, maybe this one is 90%. And, you make up a little bit of that difference by bringing the crop in a little bit. And then the rest of that is looking for something like, again, dramatic athletic activity or lighting, or figure out a way to fit him into one of these little gaps in a more dramatic kind of way or something like that. But there's a lot to explore. This looks like a really cool place to take pictures. So go back there and figure out how to eliminate the background, that black fence. You just never want to see that. and then also figure out how can you show him doing more than just sitting on a bike, which is what it looks like him doing here. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a good picture.
I mean, the railing or the fence thing that you actually have going over there, it actually starts from the right, well, the right side of the photo, and it just kind of extends all the way to the back. Um, it's the ones like in behind, like you start going through the fences and you're just gonna keep on following it, and it goes towards the back of the picture. Like that is probably not as necessary as the ones at the front. So I
Yeah,
think the other thing you can really do is that you can also like change like the angle of the whole
the
thing.
height, like the height,
Yeah, or you could just
right?
like, yeah, because that's the most important. Like that and the blue is the most important thing. So you don't have to like. I understand that you want to actually like put everything in it because I would have done exactly the same thing, but then I'll look at it and say, that black gate thing in the back is really annoying the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Instead, yeah, like instead of having to crop, you could have, I don't know if you were on a ladder here or something like that, but you could have gotten, maybe like a foot higher or something so that you were shooting down a little bit more.
Yeah, but
And then you wouldn't have to crop it.
you won't get the guy in the through
Well,
the
you
thing
have to,
though.
yeah, you have to play with it. There is a solution. There is a way, like you can see how this is angling. So maybe you pick something that's closer or something that's
Mm,
further away or something, and then you play with the height. The more you go up and you're shooting down on him, I'm not talking about like 10 feet or something. I'm talking about like 18 inches or something. You're shooting down on him and you're getting rid of the background naturally. So think about that.
yeah. All right, going next. Oh, here it is. This is by Kevin, and he went for like a cinema shot. It's wrestling.
Yeah, 16 by 9. Yeah, I don't really care for this all that much. I
Yeah.
like the floor. I like the tones and how the light is kind of skimming off the floor a little bit. I I don't know. I don't know. I just it's just not the form that they're in and the light that's on them. You have that really bright light on the back of the guy on the left, and then the guy on the right is in a darker uniform, so there's no detail at all. That's not that kind of takes away from how visually pleasing the floor is. Having those guys be like that extremely lit or something. This seems like a place where you want to light this. Like I would be setting up strobes all day against this floor because the things you can do with the light skimming off of that tape, um, I just think it would look really cool. And I don't like the how the natural light looks. It's all coming straight down, and so you have the guy in the orange. It's really bright on his back and it's really dark on his stomach, and not in a dramatic, pleasing kind of way. It just looks messy. This picture just reads as messy.
Yeah, and I just kind of hope that like he was doing something a bit more exciting, so like there is a bit more matter like the action's a bit more spread, so you can see the blur a bit more like in a nicer way. And it's one of those things that you kind of have to just like sit there and just wait until things happen, and you just have to hope that something grand will happen. So we'll just kind of it will fit in very well because this
Yeah.
to me is that you just kind of you were there, you said like I'll try a slow shutter now and see it. It's like, oh, this actually turned out to be the best one that I actually shot in the past 30 minutes, and I'll just take this one.
Yeah.
I think you can do better, like you can do much better on this. All right, moving out of Glong. Tennis, it's fine. I've got no complaints about this.
It's not.
It's
It's not. It's like the ball is in focus. He's not in focus.
it is
It's
not.
like it's
Oh, this
soft.
part is, but he's
Yeah,
not.
it's soft. You have to nail pictures like this. Like if you're going for that black background, so the only thing left in the picture is the subject, right? And it needs to be crisp. Like you need to be able to see the texture in that. And it's just I can see from the zoomed out that it's soft.
Yeah, and that I thought it was actually in focus, but yeah, it's not. So like, you have to be careful with these things. Like if you want to, I mean, it's if you want to like have, because you're doing it this way, you could actually give a bit more aperture. So if you're like shooting at
Yeah.
2.8, you can give it like 4. So when you're
Yep.
doing it, even if it's actually like on the maybe the sleeve, you still actually get the guy in focus.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like just a
Yeah.
little tip.
If you're already not going to have a background, just be like, let's say there are some times where you don't gain anything whatsoever by shooting at a wide aperture, right? Some of those times are shooting from up top, right? Shooting over a hockey game or a rodeo or something like that. The difference between the distance where you are and the ground and the distance between what you're shooting and the ground is, you're just never going to be able to blur out the background. So at that point, you want to go the other way and get as much, stop it down as much as you can given the light, so that everything is going to be like that super crisp, everything sharp kind of look, right? And so the other times where that doesn't matter, if you are shooting against a black background or a white sky or something like that, the depth of field isn't really helping you any. Like being able to blur out the background, or have his eyes and his nose in focus and his ears out of, like, none of that matters, at that point when you don't have a background. So that's always the kind of time where I'm shooting at max aperture almost all the time. But there are definitely times where I'll stop down as far as I possibly can when the depth of the picture isn't important, and the sharpness of it, and making sure that you really nail it is important. Then you want to have that extra little play of stopping down, and that's what you need here.
Yeah, because like for instance, like for football, I don't use 2.8, but I use 3.2, just because like there are times that I've actually shot with 2.8, and I've like, if it was on 3.2, I would have actually gotten that, part of whatever was aiming in focus. But because I was shooting 2.8, I've missed it. So I think since then, like, I realized that 3.2, 2.8, and a football field doesn't really matter. Like, you can just shoot it either way, and you still get a bit more leeway, and you still can blur the background at the same time. Even probably 4 as well. So you kind of have to like check and see like how much of a background you can, like what's like the tolerance of the background. So you kind of like shoot it 2.8, 3.2, 4, and if you see like, yeah, 4 is actually like not bad, then I can actually, like, even if I fuck up a little bit, I'll still get things in focus.
That's a good point. I should note that the exception to shooting wide open, I shoot hockey at 4, just because of the sticks and people reaching for things, like, that there's just going to be that much more distance in between the front and the back of what you're shooting. So for me, shooting through the glass at hockey means that the things are pretty close to me, so the background is going to be further away. So shooting at 2.8, it's not blurring out the background enough to make a difference of having that shallower focus zone. So yeah, when you're shooting against a black background, you want as much aperture as you can get.
I'm looking at it. Cool, huh? He's right there.
This looks soft too, his face.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's actually focused like there.
And the guy in the back, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is not okay. Like this,
It's
you need to
here.
know
It's the
better. You need
focus.
to know better. Yeah.
I mean, the shutter speed is
Um,
fine. I don't mind the shutter speed because it's actually quite slow, and it's
no.
20. And
Yeah.
then you just basically like I know it's 160 and it's F20 is basically, but F20 won't save you when you're
Oh,
that far.
F20 is that's what the problem is. This is all diffraction at that point. That's why it looks like that. Like there is a point where you're not getting any more depth of field, and shit's just gonna look bad, and that's where you are here.
Yeah, because it's around there, isn't it? And that's where the focus is.
Yeah, it just looks
You missed
bad.
it.
Don't shoot at F20. That's not where you want to be. You can pan at F20 because you're already giving up sharpness at that point, but no lens is going to be sharp at F20. It's just not. Um,
Oh, I think, but he missed the
so
mark anyway, because
yeah,
that's
yeah,
over
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So the
Right,
thing
but
is, like,
what
if he
what I'm
actually
saying
had it,
is it's not going to save him. It's
no, no,
like
no,
you
no, no.
can we were just talking about how stopping down a little bit can give you a little bit extra if you miss the focus. If you're shooting at f20, it's not going to help you because it's the diffraction problem is more than the depth of field, can make up for.
Yeah.
So don't shoot like that. When
Or
you're in
just
close like this, it is going to matter. So you need to be a
yeah.
little bit more careful where the cursor is when you're focusing. I would say that we can get off that because out of focus is out of focus. But I would also say this picture is kind of a mess because uh, I don't what is I don't know what's happening on the right edge there. What is that?
I think that's like the
Oh, there's tape.
pole with the tape thing on it. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. It's just
Yeah, so
bent.
I wouldn't have really shot right next to that thing just because it's kind of I can't really tell what it is looking at it at first, and it's the kind of thing where you don't want to have to spend a whole lot of time looking at it to figure out what it is. So I would shoot a little bit away from that, and then I would also be doing everything I can to get rid of those people standing in the background. Either you have a crowd or you have nobody. That should really be like the golden kind of rule there. Like you can't just have like two random people standing there and one person walking. And yeah, this is kind of a mess. It's just distracting. Like look at the picture and it just looks like things were randomly kind of plopped down. It doesn't look like it was carefully composed or anything. And I'm not saying it wasn't, because obviously you put a fisheye on and got very close to something, so you did think about it, but it doesn't look like it was thought about. It looks thrown together.
I mean, like it's almost the thing is like the thing is that yeah, like you cannot have that little pole thing because it's very distracting. You know, like the first thing that comes into my eyes or the pole thing on the right because it does actually it's just there in your face. So like Matt said, yeah, choose a place where that isn't there. If it's not on this side, then go to the other side and do it. That's not a problem. As for the focus, like I think you kind of want to like have a bit more blurry thing going on because you chose 1/60th. Like I'm sure it was intentional. It wasn't like an accident thing. Then you have to really like make sure that you get the focus right. Because the closer the subject is, like it's really it's you have to get it right. There's no way around it. So yeah, just give it a go again. I don't really like. I like the idea. I really do, but I think you have to then like make sure you execute it properly, because focusing in sports photography is always going to be something that's always going to be difficult. I think like certain sports, like when I went to like Nikon to talk about it, they were saying like yeah, but for certain sports, like certain focus system works better, and vice versa. So you have to like choose like different ways to focus, different ways to like, so it's like a zone focusing, or if it's 3D focus, or if it's autofocus, or if it's like these block thing focus, like it's a single point. Like there's so many different ways to do it. You kind of have to like find out which one works the best for that particular sports, and also for your taste, because I think a lot of no one photographer is the same when it comes to focusing things. And no one camera is the same, because Canon, Nikon, Sony, I think they all focus differently. You have to like know how those things actually work by just trying it and see how how it reacts to when you press a button, and how you're
How
aiming
many
it.
how many of the focus modes do you use regularly?
I use the group thing. I use single when it's like I need to get something quite small. And then I've tried auto and 3D, but I can't like I cannot compose with it, so I've kind of gave it
Yeah.
up. So basically it's those two, like group and single. That's it.
Okay. So I don't use 3D at all because I've just never really liked how that works. I think it's
Yeah.
maybe for wildlife or something. But I use all the other ones. The single point, the group, the horizontal line, the vertical line, the diamond, and the white rectangle for the auto area. I use all of those, right? So, and I have used all of them like in a single day. Like if I'm shooting a rodeo and I'm doing like some behind the scenes stuff, so I want to know where the faces are, so I might be using the auto area for that. But then I want to shoot team roping where I want to make sure that both of the cowboys on the horseback are in focus. So I'm using the horizontal line. I might shoot the calf roping with the vertical line because I know where the cowboy is going to be, but I don't necessarily know where the calf is going to be. So knowing those things and knowing what they're going to do and what can trip them up and what they're good at is really important.
Yeah.
And if you're the closer in you work and the more complicated things you're shooting, the more important all of that stuff is. So I would say Nikon has like I forget what it's called, but it's like you can look up like Nikon technical manual or something. I forget what it is. I'll have to look it up, but they have like a really good in the context of sports explanation of what the different autofocuses do and how to use them and some tips, and that's all really good stuff to know.
I mean, it's really like of all the things that a camera can have, autofocus is the most important thing when it comes to sports. Like it really, really is, because you are really saying to the camera, okay, please just do what I want you to do. And if you can really master it, it makes your life a lot easier. All right, moving along. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
It's it tells a bit of a story. Like I don't know what's going on about it, but it's that hand does it all. Without it,
Yeah,
it's just
this
another
is
story. But it's fantastic.
right.
I love
No,
it.
this is a great picture. The only thing I would say is that it's overexposed.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be this light.
Yeah.
It's not a deal breaker, an easy fix, but I want to see like the dramatic difference between like his forehead and his jawbone where the light is there. Like I want to see it. Like give me all of it, right? His skin tone is too washed out against that background, and if you drop the exposure a little bit, it would be even that much more dramatic.
And this is like a really good example of like just one thing making the world of difference. And you have to like
this is an 80% picture of a guy, and then he figured out the extra 20%, right? The clean background and the way that the hand is on his shoulder like that and the look on the guy's face is the extra 20%.
Fantastic. It really, really is. It's a very, very good photo, Toyin. Oh god, it's over now. That's it. This is by Toyin again. Yeah, it's fine. Like I've seen it before, type of thing. It's shot very, very well. You see the people, other runners in the background, and the faces is there. It's good, but it's not as impactful as the other picture. Like that was really just like wow,
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to do this. Like you have a really good expression on her face. But it's just the other people are too far away, really, and they're not. I don't know. It's just not kind of balanced enough, I guess. I don't know. It's just there's just something missing from this one.
I mean, like if the third person was actually making that kind of
Doing
a face,
something,
that would actually been very very good. But yeah, so far it's okay.
Or if there was somebody on the bottom left, if you could see another person down there or something like that. Like I think that's what it is. There's too much empty space here that's not helping, right? All the space in the top right and the top middle and then in the lower left, like it's too much empty space for the things in the frame.
So I think like it's just that then it's a matter of like luck at that point. I think you kind of want to like get that person on the left. You want to see like all the other person on the right. It depends on the race. You can't really do anything about it. Speaking of space, we got actually like a lot of space to actually kill, because I don't want you to like think that this is that. I mean, like, please put more pictures in. Like, please, more people should actually put their pictures in. We need at least like 10 to actually like cover the entire hour, because I don't want to feel like you've actually, got scammed by us talking about not enough about your photos. But this is as much as we can actually do with like 7 pictures. So please put more in. We need about 3, well, probably like double the amount, so we can actually talk more about it. One thing that was actually like up on Flickr, on the thread, was the would you change your camera? I think we can just talk about it for like 10 minutes, like, because I want to actually get more content in. Would you change your camera to Sony? Because Sony is taking up, from what I've actually heard, they're basically buying off your Nikon or Canon equipment, and they're basically giving you a deal on their new A7, A9, I forgot which one it was. Anyway, that stuff. So my personal opinion about it, I think did we talk about it? I don't know, we didn't really talk about it that much. We said we were gonna talk about it, but we didn't, right? We didn't talk
I
about
don't
the
know if we
podcast.
did or not.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
we
not.
talked it like off air. My opinion is so far at this like today like 2020 January what 12th today or 13 is that I won't right now because it's the difference between what Sony offers right now and what Nikon can offer right now. There's not like massive difference in it, so therefore I won't do it.
I don't understand any of it at all. I hear these people, they're like evangelists or whatever for
Sony.
mirrorless or something, and I can't. It makes no sense to me. Like you can take more pictures. All right, I guess I don't need any more pictures. And I'm not saying I'm never going to do it. I would imagine that at some point it's not going to be much of a choice, right? But no, I'm not paying the price to change for what they have right now. No way.
I mean, it's an interesting proposition. Like, I do understand, like, I think mirrorless, for instance, like, things don't black out when you're taking picture. And I think that's, well, for Sony, I don't know for other ones, but for that's basically, we're just talking about Sony versus Nikon and Canon. The blackout thing is a massive deal. Like, when I actually shot, I got a chance to actually shoot a Sony at their one of their things. They can actually test out their equipment, and that like the fact that like you can actually hear the shutter clicking, but you can actually see what's going on is really I think is a really 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 good thing to have because you don't feel like you're like I don't know like looking at a film where there is a blackout every single time like the person is moving. You can actually see the whole thing. The lightness of the camera was also a good thing for me. I don't know if I can carry a heavy camera either. But that's and the autofocus is very very good on Sony. From what I remember, it was very very good. When I did a post on it, it was a very very good. It was a very good camera. But it's like I said, like it has to be like a significant difference. And I think or Sony. I mean Nikon has, and also Canon has. They've already actually started their rollout for the so almost professional grade mirrorless camera, and I think probably not this year, but next year we're probably gonna see a pro model because I think they really have to make one now because otherwise they're really just gonna be fucked. Especially probably Nikon from what I've been reading online. Um, yeah, I mean it's interesting that cameras can get smaller, but the lenses won't get smaller. So, I mean, I would rather
That's the
like,
part that's the
yeah,
part that I just cannot possibly understand. What is the point of all this? It's I just don't understand it. And I've talked. It's not like I haven't like I've talked to. I know people that shoot it. I've listened to. Rob sent me a link to go listen to about somebody who's like a all in mirrorless guy, and I just none of it made any sense. He was talking about how if you were shooting a pole vaulter from on top, that his eyes might be closed, and so if you have 60 chances to get a frame or whatever, you're better off. And it's like I'm going to take my chances.
yeah, just like it's such a. I mean, the thing is, that if you can actually shoot 10 frames per second, if you can't get it, then I think it's really like it's up to your skill, no, at that point. And sure, like yeah, if you can take 60 frames per second, if you can do it, then I guess that's a good thing. But I think so far I've not had I don't know, an instant that I would say, oh fuck, I wish I could actually shoot more frames per second that I would actually gotten that shot. It's mostly like me like fucking up with the focus, and it's like fuck that, I fucked it up there, or I wasn't ready, or I wasn't like just I didn't get the shot. It never occurred to me to like yeah, if I actually had it more frames per second, I'd be able to get that pole vaulter with the eyes open. Like okay, well that's really not gonna swing me that much. Because I think for
Yeah.
me, like, it's really going to be the autofocus system. Like, if that is so far superior to Nikon and Canon, I think I will make that switch. But as what I've actually seen so far, I don't think that's the problem, really.
I don't know. They're gonna have to do more, I think.
I think they will. They will
Just
in the future. They will do more in the future. I think it's just the Z, at least for the Nikon ones, the Z series. I tried it out and it just wasn't all that great. So we're gonna get the D6 this year for the Olympics. And Canon's gonna have their Mark 4 or Mark 5 coming out. And I think that might be really realistically the last pro grade DSLR, at least for sports, like the bulky ones that we're gonna see. And I think they will keep on. I think they will still keep on producing DSLR for a couple more years, and we're gonna have the replacement for the 800 series for Nikon. Like the non-sport kind, but they take good pictures. But yeah, I mean, like, that's the direction they're going. So we'll see like what kind of innovation they're gonna have, and as long as like they're going to bundle all the video stuff with the DSLR, that's also going to be a bit of a thing as well, because a lot more people are actually using it. Well, not a lot more, but like, yeah, a fair amount of people are using these DSLR to shoot videos more than stills. So yeah, man, like it's an interesting time, really. It really, really is. Like I'm really I get quite giddy about it when I see like technological inventions. But like we'll just have to kind of like see how it's all gonna play out in the future. But yeah, I mean, like if you have like switched, and if you have like any sort of like good or bad experience with it, please let us know. You can start a thread on it, because there's a thread going on right now and people have actually been talking about it, whether or not we should make the switch or maybe should not make the switch. It'll be very good for us to actually know, because I would like to know more about it, about the Sony ones, and how much better or how much worse, excuse me, than the Nikon or the Canon. So that is it for Training Ground. We will be recording the podcast sometimes this month, so please get your questions in. Please put your pictures into not the masterclass, but the assignment desk, because yeah, the more participation you have, the more content you're gonna have as well. It kind of goes both ways, no? And yeah, keep on putting the pictures in Flickr, and yeah, we will see you relatively soon.